Welcome back, guys. This is the unintentional part 2 to my cooking equipment video. We're going to move right along into the next and the last item that I consider my single person cooking equipment. Now this thing deserves a video all on its own, so it's going to get one all on its own in action and everything else, but I'm really excited about this piece of equipment. This is the TGM Metalworks fire stand. It's an all-in-one cooking system. It's clangy. This is the part that goes in the ground, right there with the socket. This is the part that attaches to it, that all the implements attach to. The hook for hanging your kettle over the fire at different positions, depending on the heat you want. Grill. This grill is about, it's a good sized steak, 2 homemade burgers, bacon, thick cut bacon. You can grill your thick cut bacon in the morning over the fire. It's about that big. Plus it's got 2 little spots if you have a bail handle you want to hook, or your implements, or... And finally, the frying pan. I went with the frying pan because this adds a lot of capability to my kit. Before, I was really limited to carrying basically whatever I could cook and carry on my back. So obviously carrying a cast iron frying pan or a stainless steel frying pan into the woods was not an option, and I try to stay away from aluminum. Just personal preference, right? So I'm really excited to try this. It's not a huge frying pan, and it's got a little bit of weight, but you know what? That's enough for a little bit of scrambled eggs, some bacon, do up a little bit of hash browns. Not all at once, of course, but that's a decent serving size for 1 or 2 people. All right, so that's the end of what I consider my own personal cooking set. Believe it or not, all of this does not take up a ton of room in reference to my setup. I think you guys at the end of this series of videos, when you see me do a pack up video, I think you'll be surprised at how small I can get all this stuff packed up. But the next stuff I'm going to show you guys, I don't plan on bringing again if I can get away with it. This is dependent on amount of people, what their ideas are, what they plan on cooking, etc., etc. So first thing, a couple extra cheap plastic sporks, right? You never know who's going to be caught without cutlery. Also, it's good to have a couple of different spoons and forks so different people can cook at the different times and still be able to eat. And now the bulk of this. This is my titanium cook set that I've pieced together over the years. Alright. On the outside, this is almost like one of those babushka nesting dolls. So, on the outside, you got the Snow Peak 1.4 liter pot. I bought this initially as a snow boiler, and I've used it as a snow boiler because it's a good size to keep adding snow to, and it's easy to manipulate it. Normally, anytime I boil snow, it's normally on the wood stove, and we'll see that later on in the season. But and the top, although I've never used it as such, the top apparently can be utilized as a frying pan, but it has one fatal flaw. If you've got any weight in it at all, it'll just collapse. Oh yeah, now it makes a liar out of me. It's a failing, but you don't have to trust me on that. But it's, I've never used it, right? For me, titanium is not a great cooking material. The heat transfer is excellent. So it'll transfer heat very readily. It'll get hot very quick. It tends to cool down fairly quick. The problem is that because it heats up so quick, your food tends to scorch and burn on the bottom of it. It makes cleanup a mess, and it's hard to to cook or fry or do anything like that in it. So you're limited to soups, stews, watery chilies, or just boiling water for rehydrated meals, right? And that gets boring after a while, trust me. So next up, I never really use this much. I only use it in the winter. So this will be really the first time that it gets used a lot. I found it too big. It wasn't packable enough, right, for the summer use. So the next thing that's in here, which I replaced it with, is a Toaks 1100. This is the Toaks 1100 pot, right, with the lid. It's got the little thing on top that you can spoon it off the fire, check your stuff out. Bail handles that can be maneuvered on and off the fire easily. And it's also a good size for eating and cooking out of. As you can see, I've used this one quite a bit. I got to hit it with some barkeepers and get it back to looking clean. But this one served me well for a long time. This was my main cooking boiling unit. So inside of that, like I said, like a nesting doll. The other thing that I got the most use of, and I bought early, was a drinking vessel before I bought the canteen. I bought a small Toaks 550 milliliter cup. Or, well, they call it a pot. In a pinch, you can use this to boil up just enough water to do rehydrated meals and stuff like that. You're not going to do any major cooking out of it. It's 550 milliliters, so it's not a bad size drinking cup. Again, I like to drink spirits. It's a perfect size cup to have 2 ice cubes, 2 ounces of your favorite spirits, and a little splash of water to bring out the flavor with. It's a good size for that, but beyond that, useless for cooking. And finally, all of these things have their own little stuff sacks that they slide into. These things can be used as cozies to keep your hands from burning when you're holding it as a cup. It can also be used to keep things longer so you can steep things. Again, I don't normally bring these anymore. I do everything in my canteen cup and my kettle. And soon my fire pit and my fire stands. Alright, so this is the end of the unintentional part 2. Thank you guys for coming back. If you find any information of this interesting to anyone else, please send them my way. Like and subscribe. Any comments, put them down below. Right? There's going to be a link to my lighter pack again down in the box. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll answer you right away, or as close to right away as I possibly can. Thank you. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. All right. Cheers.